Thank you. So as Detlef had mentioned, I was one of the co-authors on Intellectual Output 3 for the CHAMP project. So this presentation is going to guide us through how to create and transfer good practices from the corporate sector to the sport movement. So first things first, why can the sport system learn from the corporate sector? The corporate sector has proven over many years across history its ability to produce and implement innovative strategies to gain and retain clients. The importance of following global consumer trends is shown time and time again from the corporate sector when we consider international fairs, ethical consumerism. The need for loyal and committed private consumers can be transferred straight across to the need for loyal and committed sport and physical activity participants. The business environment has shown us another need, which is to understand the micro and the macro environments in order to further develop and move with the evolving market or industry. And this is irregardless of the sector in which a business might be operating within. It's very important to consider the market positioning in order to assess the competitive advantage and profitability. And finally, there's the need to understand consumer behaviours and actions. So now moving on to what we did as part of this project. So how did we plan the work? Well, the overarching aim was to collect innovative good practices in the field outside of the sports sector. So phase number 1 was a comprehensive literature review, identifying strategies and practices associated with the recruitment and the retention of new clients and maintaining brand loyalty. As you'll see throughout the presentation, the two go hand in hand. If you're able to create a credible, loyal brand, then this in turn will assist in the recruitment and the retention of your consumers. As part of this literature review, it was twofold. We looked at academic papers and we pulled out some key themes that were recurring over and over again when considering consumer loyalty as well as brand loyalty. Some key themes that were coming out were brand awareness, brand endorsement, innovation, corporate social responsibility, loyalty programs, referral programs. Once we had pulled out all of these themes, we then used the findings to form step 2. And this was analysing 6 businesses based on their business environment level. So the 3 models that we used were the PESTEL analysis, Porter's 5 forces model, and the SWOT analysis. But as I said, the findings from step 1, this really provided us with a holistic view of what must be considered in step 2. Once we then collated all of these findings together, we were able to produce a report which consisted of a model which is transferable from the corporate sector to the sports system in order to increase loyalty and consumer retention. Okay, so the 3 models of analysis that we used. The first was the PESTEL analysis. This provides valuable findings that are of interest to any business, irregardless of the marketplace or the sector or the industry which they're operating within. The PESTEL analysis is a framework which analyses the complete external environment in which the business is currently operating within or in which it intends to operate within. This is very important, especially if we consider global organisations or global companies that are maybe thinking about moving into a new marketplace. The results signify key factors which might impact the outcome of the business, and this could either be positive or negative. If a company remains vigilant, considering these 6 elements here, so if we consider the 6 PESTEL analysis elements, it's the political, the economic, the social, the technological, the legal, and the environmental, then they're able to enhance their preparedness and allow for planning and reactionary measures if necessary. The second business model analysis that we used was Porter's 5 forces model. So this is a tool that's been designed to understand the forces which shape the competitiveness of the business environment and identifies the business's potential profitability and the direction of the strategy of the business. It comprises 5 elements, which are competitive rivalry, supplier power, buyer power, threat of substitution, and threat of new entry. This type of analysis provides insight of each force which has differing effects and impacts on the strategies which business may develop to increase their profits, to increase their competitive advantage, and ultimately to retain customers or consumers. Within this 5 forces model, Porter's really stressed the importance of the permanence of the factors as opposed to temporary factors such as government interventions or industry growth. The third and final analysis which we used to examine the micro and the macro environment of the business was a simple SWOT analysis. So this aims to evaluate the balance between internal resources when you look at the strengths and the weaknesses of the business, as well as the capability of a company with regards to their external opportunities and their threats. This analysis focuses on identifying external and internal factors that have the potential to, again, either positively or negatively impact the success of the business. It identifies, if we look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, it all provides us with an opportunity to identify strategies used for creating a specific business model according to the company's available resources and capabilities, as well as looking at the environment in which, again, it's currently operating within or it intends to operate within. A full SWOT analysis helps the company forecast or predict changes, changing trends, global trends, ethical consumerism, international affairs that may benefit or threaten the decision-making process of the organisation. So which companies did we use and why? When we look at the macro environment, the business environment level, we chose the pestle analysis here, and we decided to go for 2 global leaders. You'll see Starbucks and McDonald's. McDonald's #1 fast food chain in the world. Starbucks is coming in at #2 for fast food industry in the world also. This was in order to provide us with insight into corporations that have responded positively to their external environment to generate new clientele and retain loyalty. For us, it was important to look at market leaders when we consider the external environment. This was to give us something to aim towards and to look at how do the creme de la creme manage to sustain success over such a long period of time. Bearing in mind that these are both global corporations, they're not only operating within one part of the world, but as consumer trends change, as the market changes, as we face recessions, somehow these 2 organisations still manage to sustain the consumer loyalty and the brand success. When considering the meso or the transnational business environment level, we chose Porter's 5 forces model. Here we looked at 2 case studies. We looked at Lime and we looked at Uber. This was an opportunity to look at very highly competitive business environments in order to understand how corporations that have responded positively to their competitive environment in order to generate new clientele and retain loyalty. For us, it was important here to not only look at businesses that have been around for a long time and have cemented themselves in the business climate, but also look at these up-and-coming business models and how they're able to sustain success and how they are able to continue to retain customers and to create a really strong brand loyalty when ultimately their entire business is based on technology, and it's very easy for competitors to enter the market, use the exact same business model and potentially offer the same product for less. So we wanted to see how we could transfer this to the sports system also. And finally, when we looked at the micro or the organizational business environment level, we chose the SWOT analysis. For this factor, we really wanted to choose businesses that are really designing their entire business around their ethos, their values, their principles, in order to see how, if you only focus on from the inside out, how it's possible to create a business model that can build up a huge consumer following and achieve success if you're considering as I said, the values, the principles, the models. We chose a German sports club because they're one of the first football clubs in the world who has such a strong corporate social responsibility unit. And we chose Tom's, which is seen as an ethical shoe company. Their ethos is a pair for a pair. When you buy a pair of their shoes, they then donate a pair of shoes to a deprived community. So how does all of this findings that we came across feed into the sport movement? We obviously came up with a huge amount of information, and somehow we had to pull all of this together, from the scientific review, the review of journals, to the case studies, to the previous research that has been done so far. And this is how the model looks. So we have loyalty in the middle, because ultimately, if you're able to create loyalty, you're able to sustain a consumer following. We have the 5 bubbles around the outside. So the competitor advantage, the satisfaction, the perceived quality, the brand image, and the multi-way communication. The 5 bubbles surrounding the loyalty contain the features of the concepts, which are all positively feeding into this consumer or member loyalty towards the sports system. To maintain and increase consumer loyalty, clubs, federations, organisations must accommodate their activities and services around these 5 concepts. So the remainder of my presentation, I'm just going to give some very general good practice examples that we pulled out of all of our findings, and we tried to make these as accessible and transferable to the entire sports system as much as possible. So first of all, if we take competitor advantage, this good practice concerns organisations who are looking into whether or not they should expand their services or their activities into a new market. So we've said, okay, you must consider the economic context of the environment in which you're operating within. Reflect this in the cost of your services and your products. Ask yourself, is this affordable to my target market? It's important to offer more than the basic service or product in order to try and connect to a larger consumer experience. This is what you can define through your unique selling point. As companies such as Uber or Lime Bikes have shown us, you can't compete with competitors you can't stop the competitors infiltrating the market, but you can control your approach and your strategy. Therefore, it's imperative to offer something that your competitors are not. Referral programs, this is something that can build long-term satisfaction. If you have a referral program, if you're able to offer something that can kind of guide the consumer right from childhood through their youth, through adulthood to their senior years. In a sports club, this is manageable, but you just need to make sure that you're adapting the product or services throughout the lifetime of your consumer. And of course, it's imperative to keep the price manageable for the service or product and stay competitive. So the second bubble we're looking at is the satisfaction. It's imperative to adapt to the needs of your target demographic. Consider if your services are accessible. Are they culturally appropriate? This is very important if you're moving into different regions of the world. A one-size-fits-all approach is not going to work. You have to keep it standardized, but then make it as flexible as need be. It's imperative to modernize your services to increase the consumer convenience. This can be done using new age technology, using apps, if you move everything online, if a consumer can get something at their convenience, then you're going to have a happy consumer. It's imperative that you follow social trends, adapt your services accordingly to the consumer needs. In the traditional sports system, historically, we've expected people to go to the place that is offering the sport and physical activity opportunities. However, now we're learning that people have busy lives. We need to try and take these opportunities to the consumer, be it at their place of education, their place of work, as they're commuting to and from. And finally, providing expert customer service built on trust, care, and support. If we have the customer feedback loop, it's when we were doing our our review, we discovered it's much cheaper and easier to retain a consumer that you already have in order, as opposed to trying to attract a new consumer. So moving on to perceived quality, piggyback off of national policies. It's very important that if you're a sports club, a sports organisation, align with what is already happening within your government, within your region. Don't go against the grain, because this could have the impact of people thinking that either you're not serious enough because you're not following the national guidelines, or you might be trying to recreate something that's already existing. If you can build long-term relationships with your consumers by understanding their needs and catering for their needs, as I said, this is how you create a consumer that will be with you throughout their entire lifetime. You need to expand your services and offer reactionary services to meet the needs of the consumer. And finally, stay innovative. So keep services up to date to signify the club, the organisation's ethos, to provide the highest quality product and services. Brand image. So if you create a strong brand, then people can associate that with positive feelings. If, for example, you think about the golden arches of McDonald's, there's some brands that their image is instantly recognizable in every single corner of the world. It makes people feel nostalgic, it makes people feel good. You can increase your credibility through ethical and sustainable business decisions. This includes fair trade products, eco-friendly products. A lot of organizations these days are moving towards recyclable packaging, for example. This is all part of a wider CSR strategy. If the DNA of your company, which is ethical, fair trade, high models, matches the DNA of the consumer, then you're more likely to build a bond with them, and that bond can last for a lifetime. It's imperative to nurture your staff and promote employee satisfaction. Ultimately, if you have a happy workforce working for you, then it is the best marketing that you could have. Also, you must consider the political situation. Is it safe for you to infiltrate a certain market? Is it safe for your branding? Is it safe for your ethos, your image? These must be considered, because it's much harder to try and come back after a controversy than it is to start afresh with a clean slate. The final point I'm going to make is on multi-way communication. This one is very important, especially if we consider innovation, the way the world is going, in particular right now with the COVID restrictions. Everything is happening online, as our meeting is going at the moment. So for sports clubs and organisations, if they can utilise technology to obtain data relating to the market behaviour and consumer trends, then you're able to adapt and design your services accordingly. This can be done through a constant consumer feedback loop, where you know, okay, what activities is it my customers are looking for? What are their needs? How can we cater better to their needs? The use of digital marketing and social media can be some of the cheapest and most successful brand awareness that you can do for your company. I put an example here being a social media campaign from Gillette, the men's shaving company. It was called The Best Men Can Get. This was a video that they released in amongst the Me Too movement, and it was to tackle toxic masculinity. This video is currently on almost 35 million views. Not only did it gain traction around the world, everyone was talking about it, everyone was feeling connected to it and happy that this company had taken a stand. But as part of this, Gillette also donated $3 million to a charity in order to, promote female empowerment, tackle toxic masculinity, and it's great for the brand of the company as well as being great for the social movement. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.